Hey guys, Guy here, Guy Haberman on YouTube, podcast feed as well. Appreciate that when you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, 5 stars. That's how you review it on Apple Podcasts. Leave a question in your review. That's the mailbag. I keep promising the return of the mailbag. I promise. It is returning soon. All right. If you're watching this live or watching or listening to this later, you have one piece of homework, and it's right now. Well, actually, if you're live, you don't need to do it. But if you're watching this not live, one piece of homework, and you check to see what's up with Jaylen Johnson. I'm just watching Schefter's feed. You think he's getting tagged. Today is the deadline for NFL teams to tag Jaylen Johnson and Brian Burns and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley did not get tagged, by the way. Saquon Barkley didn't get tagged. So Saquon is going to be a free agent. That's what Adam Schefter has reported. The free agent class is now Saquon, running backs. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift. Schefter calls it the best class of running backs in free agent history. Wow. Shanahan's going to be like Scrooge McDuck with just running backs falling all over him. 17 running backs. Free. Maybe the good news is the Niners won't draft a running back, although these guys will be a little more expensive, but, not much. All right. Before I go any further, just want to mention this video is brought to you by my friends at Manscaped. Manscaped.com. You use the code HAM. The code HAM gets you 20% off and free shipping. The Platinum Package 5.0 Ultra. Have some respect for yourself. Take care of your body. The Platinum Package 5.0 Ultra. This is the peak hygiene plan. The Lawnmower 5.0. This is the ultimate. The Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. The Crop Soother. The Crop Preserver. The 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner. The body wash. The body buffer. The scrubber. The deodorant. The refined scent. And, of course, the free gifts. The Boxers 2.0 and the Shed 2.0. Toiletry bag. You can just check the link down in the description of this YouTube. It's manscaped.com. Use the code HAM. Free shipping, 20% off. As always, been telling you about it forever. So the likelihood that Jaylen Johnson ends up on the 49ers is low. The Bears, Ryan Poles, their general manager, said at the Combine last week, very matter-of-factly, they want him back. They want to free him up. They want him to be their guy. Partly because he was banged up. He didn't get the early extension that normally you would expect of a player drafted where he was drafted and producing like he was producing. And so he played out last season. And now they're in a little bit of a pickle. But ultimately, just like on the flip side, when you have player control, you have player control. So when we talk about Brandon Ayuk and I go, I'm not that panicked about it. They got control. The Bears, not that panicked about it. They got control. But today is the deadline, right? So that's why it's news on Tuesday. Free agency is less than 1 week away. The legal tampering period begins next Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. The official start of the league year, and you can start signing free agents, is a week from Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And, why it's relevant for the 49ers. The Niners talked to the Bears about acquiring Jaylen Johnson at the trade deadline. We know that. Ultimately, the price, and good for the Bears. I mean, the Bears were in the midst of adding Montez Sweat. Like they were trying to add defensive talent at a time when, they were toast. But the price was too high. And so the 49ers spent their compensatory third rounder somewhere else, or the compensatory pick somewhere else. And that was on Chase Young. But the reason we watched Jaylen Johnson today is because we know that the 49ers like him. Now, a lot of teams like him, but we know the 49ers tried to trade for him. Keeping the faith on the stream says Tony Pauline says Johnson is the next to be tagged. I guess they're just waiting as long as possible to try and get a deal done with him. Even if they tag him in those situations, generally, I'd say deals still get done with guys. It just gives them more time to get a deal done with him. They'd like to extend him. I think that's probably the most likely outcome here is they extend him. But that's first. The Niners, and obviously they're not talking to anybody anyway. Next Monday hasn't arrived. But I think the first thing on their list is let's just see what happens with Jaylen Johnson. And if Jaylen Johnson somehow becomes available, and by the way, if they were willing to trade for Jaylen Johnson in October, then they may be willing to trade for Jaylen Johnson now. Now, their thinking might have been, the price would have been lower later. now there's no question about an extension. But if the Niners had acquired Jaylen Johnson before the trade deadline, I think they would have done so with the intent to extend him. And so it doesn't totally die if he gets tagged. But, when you watch Ryan Poles talk, he does seem, I won't say dead set, but he seems pretty even keeled that ultimately he's going to try and extend this guy. So that's what to watch for on Tuesday. That's the most pressing issue for the 49ers. And I'm just refreshing Adam Schefter. This might all be old news by the time you're watching it or listening to it if Jaylen Johnson has been tagged at this point. The 49ers from a planning standpoint, I think whether it's Jaylon or something else, and it is more likely to be something else than Jaylen Johnson, they're going to make a splash in a week. I think we should expect that. It's in their history. Reading from Nick Wagner this morning, ESPN.com, he quoted John Lynch as saying, one of the things we added after 2019 was finishers. We need finishers in every area of our team. We've got a lot of those, and it still wasn't quite good enough. And so you go back and we'll continue to improve this team. He also quoted something, or he brought back a quote from Kyle Juszczyk after the Super Bowl. And this is what Jew said less than 40 hours after coming up short. Kyle Juszczyk said, quote, "When I envision us back in the Super Bowl, I do envision it probably against them," speaking of the Chiefs, "because of what they have there. There's a reason they're so successful. Patrick Mahomes is going to go down as one of the best players in the league. They do it with a really good defense, incredible coaching. So that's the type of teams you have to play in the Super Bowl." So when I read the quote from Juice, right, and Kyle Juszczyk's not in charge of free agency, you read the quote from John Lynch. I think the Juice quote to me just is representative of probably the way it feels in that building. You don't want to go so far as like trying to get a Kobe stop. We're going to play Kobe. We got to get a Kobe stopper because there's ultimately not really a Kobe stopper. And there's not really a Mahomes stopper, but you have a pretty clear path now, what it is that it takes to win, who stands in your way, what stands in your way. And you understand after playing them now twice in Super Bowls, what it is that it takes to beat them. And, sometimes it's a 4-quarter game and sometimes it's a 5-quarter game. But offensive line, pass rush, tackling. And I think when you look back at the 2023 season for the 49ers, one of the big storylines was inconsistency in their secondary personnel, right? Hufanga getting hurt, Logan Ryan getting off a Disney cruise, Oliver starting out the year at nickel. Ward held his own. Ward was great. Diamador Lenore developed back and forth from nickel to corner. Ambry Thomas did not give you probably in the end enough snaps to make you feel like you can roll into next year with him as your starting corner. Not probably. You can't. You will not. They will not. And there's a lot going on, right? Gibson's age, Jair Brown's age, opposite ends of the spectrum. An elite corner would obviously help. Another pass rusher would help, but that's got to be no question at the top of the list for them. You go pass rusher, you go offensive line, and you go solidify your secondary in no particular order. So interior defense, right? Are you talking about that too? Obviously, you always are. And when I list these things off, offensive line can mean multiple things. It can mean a tackle. It can mean a guard. You bring Feliciano back, you get a tackle, whatever. So anyway, I think that I say all of that to say I think we're a week away from them doing something big. Not big for the sake of big. Not splashy. This is not, they're far along enough. This is not about bullshit attention or selling tickets or anything dumb like that, which some teams do that stuff. It's just about identifying. I think the 49ers use the Guy Haberman philosophy of shopping. My philosophy of shopping, some call this Guy Football Focus, GFF. It crosses over. I recommend this, especially if you are younger, if you in your early 20s right now, or your mid 20s, or even your late 20s. It took me probably into my early 30s to figure this out. And it can be tougher if you're in your early 20s, if you don't have much money to spend on clothes. But what I figured out finally was that I have a very black and white philosophy when it comes to shopping. And the philosophy is do it. No, the philosophy is if it's not perfect, don't buy it. If it doesn't fit you exactly right, if it doesn't look exactly right, if there's something about it that bugs you and you think, well, it's a good deal and this is normally where it comes into play. It's like, oh, it's on sale. It's a good deal. In a month, you won't wear it because it was a good deal. Or if you're wearing it because it was a good deal and it doesn't quite fit right, you won't enjoy wearing it. You won't feel good in it. What are you buying it for if not for the function and the feel? Now, some of you might be like 23 years old. You have very little disposable income. And you can't afford to get stuff that's just right. You're shopping at the place that is just cheap, and that's its main selling point. Fine, I understand. That's fine. That's fine. But maybe there comes a point where that can, a little bit, and it means maybe you don't have to buy stuff all the time. Maybe you just got a couple things, but they're good quality. They fit you. You like them. You wear them all the time. It's all good. I think that's the way the Niners operate in free agency for the most part. Like, they will spend their money in the right place if they feel good about it. They did it last year immediately. They said, Javon Hargrave, we really want that guy. Let's pay for him. Done. Right? They spend money on their own guys. Why? Because they know how they fit. They know what to expect. They know it's going to work. And so they spend their money there. And, that's what I expect them to do in free agency this year. I think they're going to get somebody that excites people. But again, they don't do it for the sake of exciting people. The Russell Wilson story must be addressed here. Must be addressed. It's just an all-time story. Excuse me. The largest dead cap hit in NFL history, $85 million to the Denver Broncos. And this is going to get to the draft as well. But $85 million, largest cap hit in NFL history, more than double the previous largest dead cap hit in NFL history. Matt Ryan at 40.5, Aaron Rodgers at 40.3, Carson Wentz at 33.8, and Russell again at $26 million. This means that in less than 2 years, two teams have decided that they would rather have $111 million in total dead cap than have Russell Wilson on their roster. They'd rather pay to move on than have Russ on the team. It's stunning. It's a place that would have been hard to imagine several years ago when this guy looked like he was a surefire Hall of Famer, this close to being a two-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I went straight to the article in The Athletic yesterday that they had their beat writers come up with destinations. So they went to like the Steelers writer, Vic Tafur, the Raiders writer, right? They went around. Who could sign this guy? Who would be in Atlanta? What was stunning about it, it's not just that he's got $85 million in dead money to the Broncos this year and $111 in dead money in back-to-back years total. But when you go read the Athletic article and they go through like seven teams that might be interested in Russell. 6 of the 7, right, not interested. The only team who had a beat writer, right, yeah, they might be interested, was Vic Tafur. Vic covers the Raiders, wrote, if they can't get the guy they want in the draft, how about a Russell Wilson, Aiden O'Connell competition in camp? I know, the Steelers look like an obvious fit. If you go back to even early last year, the Steelers, I was anti-Kenny Pickett from the draft, from the jump. Sorry, bad pick. We knew that one ahead of time. We don't always know it, but that one I thought was obvious. The Steelers beat writer, I believe it's DeFabo, part of the Athletic. He wrote that according to one of his sources, the Steelers are not planning to sign Russ, which, it's like, all right, you guys are going to go with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett again? Go for it. It could be cheap to sign Russell. His dead cap money is massive. He's owed $39 million in cash. But that is offset by whatever he makes from the team that signs him. So he's making $39 million one way or the other. If you sign him for $2 million, then the Broncos owe him $37, which is pretty interesting. That's what who wrote that? What's his name? The former Packers exec. So anyway, he's making his money, and you can get him kind of cheap, and he can kind of stick it to the Denver Broncos, I guess, in a weird way by making him pay. But Russ, for them to not want him and for there to be basically no destinations, we'll see, though, because of how cheap he is. I think what that creates now is a really intriguing quarterback destination. Michael Penix, I think, is going to have to be attractive. I think Sean Payton in Denver is going to really like Michael Penix. Sean Payton's making almost $20 million. He's making $18 million, right? He's one of the 3 highest paid coaches in the NFL, just on NFL salary. That doesn't include what Sean Payton makes from Lululemon. That's right. Sean Payton has a deal with Lululemon. Pretty cool. Good for Sean. I know things. That's awesome. But I think Sean Payton's in a great spot to draft a guy that he thinks can help him right away. Right? Does he want to? And I know there was all these reports out of the draft that J.J. McCarthy, teams are higher on J.J. than people. The league is higher on J.J. than people think. Okay, I bet some teams are higher on J.J. McCarthy than some people think. I doubt the entire league is higher on J.J. McCarthy than everybody else. And the other guy that was at least a public riser coming out of the combine was Michael Penix. And Penix had a clean physical situation at the combine. As a guy with an injury history, multiple knees, shoulders, things checked out pretty well. It feels very high. Denver drafts at 12. So maybe they would move back, or maybe they would just say, screw it. We like this guy. There's not nearly as much development with him. He's smart. He's accurate. He's strong. He played in the cold when he was at Indiana. So this is not just a soft West Coast dome quarterback. This is a kid who's been in the cold of the Midwest. So maybe he could come to Denver. We've got weapons. I'm a schemer, me, right? Like Ryan Grubb, yes, what a match. Me, Sean Payton, what a match. So, I said back during the regular season, the college football season, that I was a lot higher, and I was on Michael Penix than most. When you're looking up and he's getting mocked in the second round, it made no sense to me. It's just a really productive quarterback. And, he's 24. He's like 6 months younger than Brock Purdy. So you're not really popping him to a place where he's sitting for a year. So I know it sounds kind of crazy because I don't think anyone's mocking Michael Penix to 12, but he is kind of the antithesis of, well, I don't want to say the antithesis of Russ because Russ is a hard worker and all that stuff. But in terms of just fitting into a locker room, being coachable, he coached for 2 really good offensive coaches, right? So, which means he took a lot of instruction at Washington. He played for Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. So you're taking a lot of instruction, right? That's not just you and some QB coach and some OC alone because your head coach is doing other stuff. That's a guy who's being watched with a very critical eye by multiple coaches. And obviously Sean Payton he's a tough-nosed, he's a hard ass. He yells, he screams, he throws things probably. And he does not mince words, right? He thinks you sucked, he's going to say you sucked. I think Michael Penix is mentally prepared to handle all that stuff, right? I'd be worried about J.J. McCarthy going to play, younger, a little less proven. I know people believe in him. I'm sure he believes in himself. But Michael Penix has been through fires. And Michael Penix has the kind of confidence that only comes from having been through the flames, right? Injuries that people wrote him off for. And so I think he's ready. Of all these guys, I think he's probably the best fit to go play for Sean Payton, Michael Penix. And so whether his value is actually 18 or whether it's actually 12, it's not going to matter as much to the Broncos. They just need their quarterback. They don't have time to waste. They're paying Russ way too much money. They are paying their coach a ton of money. They've got talented players. They got to do it. So I think Sean would like Penix anyway, but I think given the situation they just went through, everything with Russell, Michael Penix would be a breath of fresh air to the Denver Broncos. Initially, I thought, well, could they, would he get to Seattle? Seattle loves trading back. Seattle's at 16. Could they trade back, get some picks, and get Ryan Grubb's OC, their new OC, Ryan Grubb, get him his college quarterback? I guess they could, but Gino's making a lot of money this year relative to, what you would want to pay a quarterback if you're drafting another quarterback in the first round. That said, Seattle's done stuff like that before where you think they've got their quarterback and they just go, they had Matt Flynn signed for what at the time was a lot of money. And then they drafted Russell Wilson. So John Schneider will do what he likes. And if he can get a pick, move back, and still get Michael Penix, I actually think it would make some sense for them. Now he's maybe just beats Geno out. And you go, well, we're paying Geno $28 million or whatever we're paying him this year, but we're paying Penix nothing. So in the end, we're paying our quarterback, it's still middle to low quarterback value. If I were Seattle, I would rather have Michael Penix as a rookie on my team than Geno, because I think as Geno has proven he's an NFL starter, we've reached the ceiling there, and you're just not winning your division with him. So, or multiple playoff games. So that's another one, but it almost seems too obvious, too perfect for Ryan Grubb to end up with Michael Penix. But that's a move, right? If he's fallen, the Seattle trade back and get him. I mean, Seattle picks at 16. After them, Jacksonville, they're not drafting him. Cincy, not drafting him. Rams, not drafting him. Pittsburgh should draft him. Miami, not. Philly, not. Houston, not. Dallas, not. Tampa, Green Bay, not at 25. Tampa at 26, maybe, right? So my point is there's a range there if you're Seattle where you can go back basically from 16 to 25, anywhere in that range, and maybe feel okay that you're going to get that guy. So that's where I'm at right now with Penix, and that's where I'm at right now with the Broncos. Couple of your comments. Joe Mama, yo, let's go, guy. Keep up the content. Yeah. This has been, I don't know how many straight days. I guess the Super Bowl was a Sunday, streaming every day, not counting weekends, but one Saturday since the Super Bowl. So we're keeping it going. We're keeping it going. We're keeping it going. We're keeping it going. Some days off, but not many days off. Not no days off, but some days off. Let me see here. Seattle Bo Nix. Maybe. Interesting. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right to me. So, but okay. It's possible. Bullpup. The more crazy picks, the more chances we will have to have talent drop to 31. Yeah, I mean, we talk about if you want a pass rusher or if you want a pass rusher, which the Niners definitely want a pass rusher. And as I've said, the Niners don't, they don't really draft defensive linemen high. They've done it like twice. In the top 3 rounds, I think it's Bosa and Kinlaw. But yeah, you are rooting if you want something other than quarterback or tackle, and the Niners do want to tackle, but you're rooting for quarterbacks if you're a Niner fan. You want all these guys. You want 6 quarterbacks to go in the first round. You want 7. You want 5 receivers to go. You want 3 guys to go quick. Like you want Arizona to go, you know what? Forget about offensive line. Let's take Marvin Harrison Jr., right? And then you want the Chargers at 5 to be like, yeah, man. Let's just get, think about this, Harbaugh. Harbaugh coached against Rome Odunze. He coached against Marvin Harrison. So he probably just loves Malik Neighbors. Chargers just take Neighbors, right? And then the Giants take take a quarterback. And then the Titans, they're like, we got a quarterback. We got to take a receiver. So then the Titans take Rome Odunze. Did I already say Odunze? Anyway, one of those guys. Yeah, Odunze. Then Atlanta's sitting there at 8. They're not going to take a receiver. You wouldn't think. But all of a sudden, just, receivers start going. And the next thing you know, there's 5 guys off the board. And the Niners are getting guys pushed down to them. So there's no question. Kanye Wallace says, we need to restructure Debo to keep 11. I think if you're restructuring Debo this year, you're doing it to sign somebody else. You don't need to do anything to keep 11. 11's under contract this year for $14 million. You can play him on the 5th-year option. Next year, as it stands right now, Debo's current contract And I know, and I've said this, like, I'm not in the rush that some other people are to get out of Debo's deal, to get out of Debo. I know Debo's stock is kind of down after this season and, him not being able to catch a go ball against Trent McDuffie. He doesn't catch that ball ever in practice, doesn't catch it. That's not Debo's game. So I know everybody's, trying to get rid of Debo now. Not trying to, and not everybody, but, that's the way we talk. But I know people are down a little bit. Just understand, if you restructure him now, what you have currently is the ability to get out of the Debo deal if you wanted to next year after June. You can get out of Debo or trade him for $6 million a dead cap. So I would not, if I'm just like the people who are down on Debo also want to restructure Debo to keep Ayuk, which then potentially keeps Debo on your roster longer, which I think is fine. But I'm just saying, like, if that's your mindset, it's counterintuitive. If that's your mindset, it's counterintuitive, right? If you think the sooner you get out from under Debo's deal, the better, then you don't want to restructure Debo right now. So I wouldn't. I think I interpreted yesterday, if you guys saw the Monday show, I interpreted a lot of what was reported about Ayuk over the weekend as 49ers patience. That's what I thought was happening there. The Niners were saying, we're going to deal with free agency. We're going to evaluate where things are in the draft. We're going to talk to some of these offensive tackles. We're going to dive into these guys' tape. We're going to see how much we like these guys. And then we'll figure out really what our move is. I don't think they know right now what they're going to end up doing with Ayuk. If you've missed it, my prediction has been that in order, option one is that he plays this year for $14 million on a fifth-year option. 2, they extend him if he's willing to not take full market value, right? And it's a market that Dan Graziano wrote yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown could get $26 million a year in. So if you're Ayuk, you got $14 million coming to you. I wouldn't be in a rush to take a below the market deal. And 3 is trade. So comment, I wonder if we could trade our first rounder for 2 second rounders. I don't think you want to. I think you want to stay at 31. You're going to get if you want an offensive lineman, even if you're not getting one of the top 7 tackles in this draft, you can get a good offensive lineman at 31. And maybe you do end up getting it. Maybe you do end up getting a tackle. An immediate starter at right tackle. But the belief with this offensive line class is you're getting an immediate starter with the 31st pick. Or you're getting a pass rusher with the 31st pick who you think can start right away. And then all of a sudden you're saving money because you're not spending it on Chase Young right there. So I would not trade out of that spot. This is just I understand it because it should be a deep second round. If you are the Niners and you think and Ayuk is gone by then, or you think you're going to get rid of Ayuk, then maybe that would be the scenario where you consider that because it's going to be, at least it should be, a good receiver Friday in day 2 of the draft. But I'd stay at 31 and get a starting offensive lineman. EK Beasy says the Niners have traditionally tried to fill needs in free agency and cover the rest of their roster through the draft. Yeah, but that gets expensive. And at some point, you need to actually get starters in the draft. When they drafted Jair Brown, that was not a first-round pick. When they drafted Jair Brown, that was about kind of redshirting a year or just taking a year to learn and then becoming your guy. They've done that with receivers. That's true, right? Like, Danny Gray, we're not pushing him into anything. Even Ayuk didn't really. I mean, Ayuk played. Kinlaw was signed to develop, but I think it was understood at the time that even that was a little bit of development was going to be required there. I don't think there was any question about it. Ed says it's Ed M. Ed? McCaffrey? It's Kyle and John. They'll go D-line. Their history says they don't do that. They've only done it twice. But Ed, to your point, and maybe this is the logic, they don't draft defensive linemen in the first 3 rounds, except for when they draft defensive linemen in the first round. So maybe there's some logic there. Like we're either taking 5th round D linemen or we're taking first round. If we can get a blue chipper, we'll get a blue chipper. Otherwise, it's not worth the pick. Chris Kasarik will coach somebody up. I think actually, Ed, my first reaction here was bad take. Ed, good take. Changed my opinion, Ed. Good job. Dale, no, hold on. Where'd this go? Comment, if no starting alignment, then best available. Yeah, to me, it's, if I had to bet it right now, I'd go O-line, D-line after Ed. Oh, Drake Jackson, thank you. Tobias, I was leaving Drake Jackson out. Thank you, Tobias. Bad stat by me. Drake Jackson was a top 3 rounder for the 49ers. Bad stat by me. I think that stat was actually, wasn't a stat. It was, I looked it up the other day. One interior defensive lineman in the top 3 rounds, and that was Javon Kinlaw. Thank you. Glad that Tobias is here on the staff. You're all on the staff, research staff, fact check staff, math staff. If I'm doing live math, I know I need an assistant. Oh, son of a bitch. Yeah. Okay. This was definitely interior D line. I got it wrong. It was my own research. Solomon Thomas drafted as an edge, eventually moved inside, but interior D line. All right. You guys are right. Hopefully, my stat has got this far and aren't leaving comments like this guy got his own stat wrong. That's sometimes how it works with GFF. Unlike PFF, there's not a staff of millions updating databases. You're my staff of millions watching on the stream. Batman says, talk about Drake Jackson being a bust. That pick has not worked. Now, the beauty of it is you're not a bust until it's over. And it's not over for Drake Jackson. I thought he'd be more impactful last year. Injuries were a problem for him. I felt like it was a really big year for Drake after being a 2nd-round pick. Coming out of SC, everybody understood his rookie year was going to be a challenge for him because of the lack of consistency and development at USC, moving him around positions, fluctuating his weight, all that kind of stuff. So, last year was a big year for him, and it didn't turn out well. Things tapered off from a production standpoint as a rookie, and then he got hurt and did not get to play, did not get to develop. That said, he's not a bust yet. He's a 2nd-round pick who's not going anywhere. So he's going to have his chance. The good news for him is the team that he plays on, the players he plays with. If he's in shape, if he heals, if he's putting in the work, if he's learning from Nick Bosa and Chris Kasarik, he still has a chance. So stock is down, no doubt about it. Just like stock is down on, I think stock is further down on Danny Gray. Stock is down on Drake Jackson. But it's not over. Drake Jackson still has a chance to change the direction of this story. He's got to get healthy, though. Floyd the barber. Floyd is not my barber, but I'm going to my barber here soon. Let me just check traffic. Floyd the barber says, I think there's a, who you cutting, Floyd? Who you cutting? How much you charging? Floyd says, I think there's a golden opportunity to trade down from 31 to a team wanting a quarterback like Knicks or Penix. Agree? In theory, 31 is always going to be a spot where you can trade back to a team who says, there's a quarterback there we like. And, we want him on the 5th-year option. When you look at the top of the 2nd round, though, you don't want to go back that far. You don't want to go from 31 to 45, right? You'd want to go you go 31 to 33, 31 to 34, 31 to 35. But when you look at the top end of the 2nd round, there aren't teams there that are going to want to trade up for a quarterback, right? The top of the 2nd round, where did this go here? The top of the 2nd round is Carolina. You're not getting the 33rd pick. New England at 34. Actually, that one, maybe. Arizona at 35, no. Washington at 36, no. Chargers at 37, no. Titans at 38, no. Giants at 39, 39, no. God dang. I'm scheduled to get vocal cord surgery in like 2 weeks, FYI. Anyone has any problems with their vocal cords, check with your boy. I've done a lot of research over the last year. So I guess New England at 34, if they don't draft a quarterback at 3, or if they were to move back, they conceivably that could happen. They're sitting there at 34. They look up, they go, oh shit, we kind of like this Penix guy. We like Bo Nix. We'll go to 31. That's not crazy. Then Kansas City drafts Xavier Worthy, because of course Carolina does whatever they do at 33, and then you're sitting there at 34. Now you gotta, you might miss out on an offensive lineman at 32 or 33 that you really like, or a pass rusher. And the last thing you want, if this is all about beating the Chiefs, which of course it is in part, the last thing you want is to like a guy at 31, move back 3 spots to 34, and just hand that guy to the Chiefs. I think that is normally, I say, just focus on yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. But with Kansas City, you do have to worry about what other people are doing. Just Mike says the problem with giving up the first round pick is also giving up the 5th-year option. Right. I think it would take a draft that sees them sitting there at 31, not liking anybody, to move back. I don't think you're going to get enough to justify moving out of the first round with players that you like sitting there, with a starting offensive lineman sitting there or a pass rusher you like sitting there, and with Kansas City picking behind you. So effectively getting who you potentially liked. So I don't see it happening. Good points all around. Really positive chat today. I would say generally a positive chat. Every once in a while, somebody comes in here begging for money, claiming they live in a car. And, need some crazy person occasionally. But, nobody's yelling at each other. That's nice. Robbie says, Kansas City's going to trade up to draft Worthy. I don't even know if they have to. I think he's going to be there at 32 for them. And they're just going to take him. I mean, he's like 168 pounds. What did he weigh in at? I mean, you know what's fun is to go. I recommend this. I like the PFF draft, mock drafter, whatever. 172. It's fun to jump in there, and it's one thing to talk about a mock draft, talk about who you think teams are going to take. It's another thing to actually be sitting there and be like, oh shit, okay. Let's see. We got a couple guards here, but also Kool-Aid McKinstry and Ladd McConkey are available. Ooh. And you just take one of those guys. Ladd. If Kool-Aid's there at 31, do you trade the pick? No, I'm not trading the pick. Is Kool-Aid a physical enough guy for the Niners? Like, is he really get his nose in and tackle? I mean, it feels like a sweet pick, though. Jose says, does GFF have internships available? Yeah, sure, man. Send me a DM. You need school credit? Let's fill out some forms. Dale says, is Manscaped the guys that shave your balls? That's the sponsor today. LOL. Yeah. Or just, body trimming in general. Have some respect for yourself, Dale. Vince says, Xavier Worthy could go out to dinner a few times with Andy Reid, a few times a week, and get up to 185 in no time. What does he say in that commercial? Let me try some of those tendies. Nuggies. Is that what it was? Jacob says, why do you think the Chiefs have gone out of their way to praise Brock? Is it legit, or are they putting on a show? Well, I think it's legit. What do they have to gain? They've won they've beaten them now twice head to head. It's something to be said about, like, yeah, no, you guys are doing the right thing. And I credit you for doing the right thing. Sorry, though. We're just going to kick your ass. Is that what it's just kind of, you think it's being, you think they're mocking the Niners a little bit? I don't think so. Really, it's been a lot of Steve Spagnuolo, and people love the guy. He's an authentic guy. I loved watching him talk. On my to-do list in 2024 is going to be just watching more Steve Spagnuolo press conferences because I'm a fan. I think it's legit. Did you guys see Michael Penix? They asked him his top 5 quarterbacks. And who'd he go? He went with Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar. Then he goes Purdy. Then he goes Herbert. I think he left Josh Allen off. I know he said Mahomes. I know he said Lamar. I know he said Herbert. And I know he said Purdy. I think he said Burrow and not Josh Allen. Lad McConkey is the receiver we need. Somebody's getting Lad that's going to make everybody go like, oh, yeah. Like McVay. Like, oh, yeah. Spags has zero reason to lie about Brock. Yeah. Just to lull the Niners into a false sense of security. Is that what you think? I don't know. Good question. I say question all compliments, but trade up for Brock Bowers, bring him home. Yeah, what high school did Bowers? He didn't. For some reason, I want to say he went to Vintage, but it wasn't that. What was it? Vintage? Brock Bowers, West Coast guy, left home. Napa. He went to Napa High. Is there a Vintage high school in Napa? Something like that? Yeah. All right. I got to get to this. Get to this haircut. Let's check the traffic on that. Yeah, Jaylen Johnson. Central High School. TC says, at Guy, question mark. I will trade Debo away and draft Rice and McCaffrey, sign BA, have all good route runners. What are you trading Debo away for exactly? Into who? For what? A 3rd-round pick? He's worth more to the Niners than he's worth to anybody else right now. Great One says Spagnuolo was lying out of his ass. He was just being generous to the losers. Purdy didn't play great. He was mediocre. He got his number one to talk to him. Spags was not lying out of his ass. Spags said he had to change his defense. What he thought was going to work against Purdy didn't work. Then he beat him. He didn't expect to have to adjust, and he did. Bears are going to take Bowers, give Caleb a weapon to go with DJ Moore. I love that. I love that. Comment, what DC doesn't butter up opposing QBs? Rex? All right. A lot of you here. Thanks for being here. It is Tuesday morning. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you. That makes you a sponsor of the show as well when you do that. And I appreciate it very much. Help the channel grow, help more people find it. When you hit like, the algorithm puts it in front of more people. When you do it right now live, then it's at a critical point in the development of this video. When you do it live, hit that like button live, it starts suggesting it to more people, get a little momentum, that sort of thing. So do that. Appreciate that very much. And we'll talk to everybody soon. Another pod coming later today, actually. All right. Everybody. Bye.